The protagonist of our story suffered from bullying due to his lack of any abilities in a world where there was no place for the weak. Despite this, he possessed a big heart, which ultimately led to his demise. However, at that very moment, a miracle occurred, and his unique power was activated, granting him the strength of the most powerful being in the world. The story begins with our protagonist narrating that day marked the beginning of everything that unfolded. A strange beam of light appeared from outer space, striking the Earth, causing widespread destruction, panic, and fear among people. Emergency messages were sent to mobile phones, informing people about the events and warning them, stating that an alien invasion was underway, launched by powerful creatures from beyond the planet. The messages urged residents near the impact zones to evacuate immediately and seek shelter for their safety. Suddenly, a massive dragon soared above the destroyed city, its body armored and glowing with bright lightning-like streaks. Following this, a young boy appeared, standing fearlessly before the dragon and declaring he would not be defeated by the beast. This boy, named Joey, is the protagonist of our story. Joey narrates that for 15 years, he acted with arrogance and stubbornness, until the day the dragon consumed him. However, it didn't just consume him, it also devoured his pride. The narrative then rewinds 10 years, revealing a time when numerous beams of light struck people simultaneously. These beams were part of a large-scale invasion by alien creatures known as Eva, which descended in thousands and conquered Earth in an instant. Human weapons proved ineffective against these monsters, leaving humanity on the brink of extinction. Ironically, the Eva's presence led to the emergence of a cosmic material called the element. This material granted humans extraordinary abilities known as alpha powers, initiating a counterattack against the invaders. Returning to the present, Joey describes a massive building, identifying it as the 8th School, a facility for training special forces called Hachi. This elite institution trains exceptional boys and girls aged 15 and above who possess remarkable alpha powers. Its mission is to prepare them to become the most formidable combat force. Joey reveals that he is a student there, but in reality, he is only a part-time janitor. Later, a bully throws an empty drink can at Joey, ordering him to dispose of it. The bully justifies this by mocking Joey for lacking alpha powers, while other students laugh at him. In this world, people are ranked by their alpha powers, with the special forces categorized from rank D to A and the strongest labeled as S. The rest serve as civilians supporting them. Joey admits he hasn't even reached rank F, as his powers have not manifested. Despite this, he refuses to accept such treatment and picks up the can, insisting the bully throw it away himself, stating that ranks don't matter to him. Enraged, the bully strikes Joey to the ground, warning him never to speak that way again, as he is rank A. He reminds Joey of past lessons taught in front of everyone, then ignites flames in his hands, threatening to harm him. However, before he can act, the fire transforms into ice. A girl named Oren steps in, revealing herself as the one who froze the flames. She admonishes the bully, stating that his powers should be used against Eva creatures, not the weak. Oren is an S-rank student, known as the Ice Wall Witch. Despite being a first-year student, she is among the most promising elites. Her intervention annoys the bully, who accuses her of acting superior while using her powers against him. Oren picks up the can and tells him to respect those above his rank. She then hands the can to Joey, reminding him that in emergencies, higher ranks have the authority to eliminate lower ones. Joey thanks her but insists that ranks and alpha powers mean nothing to him. He asserts that a person's worth is determined by their actions, not their powers, and volunteers to clean up. He adds that his job is to support Hachi students, who protect everyone. Oren watches him leave, puzzled by his actions and words, finding him unusual. The story then shifts back 8 years, showing a young Joey crying as others mock him for his lack of powers. His mother comforts him, playing with him and emphasizing that a person's worth is defined by their deeds, not their abilities. She encourages him to strive to be helpful to others. Joey absorbs her words, feeling reassured, and promises to try. However, his mother soon falls gravely ill with no cure available. A doctor explains that her condition results from her body's inability to handle her alpha power. Joey overhears nurses mocking them, calling them worthless for lacking powers like others. This deeply wounds Joey, but he defiantly shouts that no one has the right to judge his or his mother's worth. He recalls her words about deeds defining value. Returning to the present, we see Joey diligently cleaning every corner of the school, from hallways to windows and even bathrooms. Joey felt immense satisfaction as he finished his work for the day at record speed, even before noon. He contemplated the possibility of cleaning the areas surrounding the school as well, given his current pace. True to his thought, he stepped outside and began tidying up the premises. Meanwhile, the students were engaged in practical training, and Joey paused to observe them. The instructor informed the students that a group of Eva monsters, classified as Type C, had been brought in for their training. He explained that these creatures were considered weak compared to others. The students were tasked with defeating all the monsters within just 1 minute. Without delay, the instructor unleashed the monsters and signaled them to begin. Oren employed her ice-based abilities, while the bully relied on his fire powers, both swiftly defeating the monsters with a single strike, earning the admiration of their peers. One student confidently declared that even an S-class monster would be easy for them to defeat. Joey watched in awe and admiration, but soon remembered he was holding a garbage bag. Deciding to dispose of it, he turned to leave. Just then, a beam of light, eerily reminiscent of the initial monster attack, appeared behind him. The beam struck a nearby building, causing massive destruction. The impact reached the school, leaving Joey frozen in disbelief as he witnessed the chaos unfold. Alarms blared throughout the school, and loudspeakers announced a nearby attack. At that moment, a colossal dragon appeared near the school, Seeing it up close, Joey was awestruck by its enormous size and unsure of its nature. Students and teachers screamed in terror upon spotting the dragon, identifying it as one of the most powerful monster types. One of them urged everyone to flee immediately, prompting a frantic escape. Oren fell to the ground, shouting that if they didn't fight the monsters, no one else would, but no one dared to return. The dragon pounced on a fleeing student, devouring them instantly, leaving Oren horrified. She nervously proclaimed that the beast was consuming humans. Her fear intensified when she noticed that even the dragon's tongue transformed into another monster, amplifying the terror of the scene. As the dragon approached her, ready to make her its next meal, Joey suddenly appeared and threw the garbage bag at the dragon's face, momentarily blinding it and causing confusion. Seizing the opportunity, Joey rushed toward Oren, hoisted her onto his back, and sprinted away from the beast. Reaching the underground tunnel's entrance, he quickly opened the hatch and informed Oren that he knew the area well from cleaning it before. The two descended into the tunnels, and by the time the dragon had cleared the debris from its face, they were nowhere to be found. While carrying Oren, she questioned why Joey had taken such a reckless action. She asked what purpose his actions served, considering he had no alpha abilities. Joey simply replied that he did what he could. He added that special abilities weren't necessary to help others, leaving Oren astonished. She thanked Joey sincerely for saving her life, and he informed her that they were on their way to the shelter. Moments later, they emerged from another exit, with Joey pointing toward the shelter entrance and announcing they had arrived. However, as they approached, the doors were about to close. Joey shouted, pleading for them to keep the doors open and allow them entry. The guard explained that the shelter was full due to the influx of people from the school's surrounding areas and advised them to find another location. Luckily, one of the students recognized Oren and insisted the guard let her in immediately. Relieved, both Oren and Joey approached the door, but the student suddenly shoved Joey to the ground, preventing his entry. The student justified his actions, claiming he knew Joey from school and that he lacked any abilities, making him unworthy of a spot in the shelter. He told Joey to find another place. Oren protested, stating that Joey had saved her life and demanded that he be allowed inside. She even threatened to leave if he wasn't granted entry. She ordered Joey to enter immediately, asserting her authority as someone of a higher rank. Suddenly, the dragon appeared before them all, striking fear into everyone present. The people inside the shelter decided to seal the door at once. At that moment, Joey pushed Oren inside. As the door closed, Oren stared at him, struggling to comprehend his sacrifice. She heard him say with a smile that ranks and abilities didn't matter. He concluded his statement by saying that a person's worth was defined by their actions, not their powers, reassuring her. The door shut completely, leaving Joey alone outside as the dragon advanced toward him. Joey stood firm before the massive beast, ready for the confrontation, just as seen at the beginning of the story. He smiled confidently, remarking that this was the most powerful monster, and it was now his opponent. The dragon lunged at him, and Joey reflected on how he had spent his life being persistently stubborn for 15 years. Now, he faced a beast that not even the strongest ranks could defeat. Gripping a large wooden plank, he declared that he wouldn't lose, and that if he gave up his pride now, he would never move forward in life. At that moment, the dragon devoured Joey, and as he was consumed, Joey thought about how he was meeting his end while saving others, reflecting that it wasn't a bad way to go for someone like him. However, as he found himself inside the dragon's maw, he began to reconsider, affirming to himself that this wasn't the reality he believed in. In his final moments, he recalled memories of Oren and reflected on how he had lived his life believing that a person's value lay solely in their actions. He remembered the times he had been bullied, and how he had always wished for extraordinary abilities to stop people from mocking or mistreating his mother because of him. But he realized that wish could no longer come true. Before taking his last breath, he silently apologized to his mother for failing to achieve that goal. After his death, a message suddenly appeared on a dark screen, indicating the activation of the alpha ability condition, death. It revealed that the apex predator ability, the black hole, had been triggered. A strange circular void appeared in the emptiness, followed by text indicating the targeting of the consumer. Soon, black holes began forming across the dragon's body, growing larger until the dragon was completely consumed. The screen displayed a 100% consumption rate, leaving behind only a large, rounded stone. A new message appeared, signaling the start of analysis and reconstruction. The large stone began to crack, with the fissures widening until it split into two halves, revealing Joey in a completely transformed state. He emerged from the stone, as though reborn, his body covered in glowing streaks resembling the patterns on the dragon's body. Joey appeared confused, unable to comprehend what had happened, and wondered how he had survived after being consumed by the dragon. However, his thoughts quickly shifted to a different sensation, a deep, overwhelming hunger. The screen confirmed the successful consumption of the strongest type of Ava, and prompted Joey with a question. Did he wish to use the alpha abilities gained from consuming the creature? He was asked to respond with yes or no, but all he could think about was his extreme hunger. Suddenly he lost his balance and fell from the rounded stone, landing on the ground with a thud. Joey fainted, lying unconscious as a strange black circle resembling a black hole appeared in his hand. Simultaneously, an unusual force emanated from the black circle, absorbing the large stone entirely into the black hole until it vanished as though it had never existed. Joey remained unconscious, alone on the ground. He was jolted awake by a voice demanding the return of a body that had been stolen. Disoriented, he regained consciousness, bewildered by the absence of anyone around, realizing the voice was only in his head. Suddenly, the creature appeared before him again, demanding its body back and preparing to devour him once more. In an instant, Joey woke up in a panic, realizing it was just a nightmare. He found himself in a hospital bed. Once he fully regained his senses, he couldn't believe he was still alive. He looked at himself, questioning how it was possible, certain that the dragon had devoured him. Glancing at his hand, he noticed the black hole-like mark, but dismissed it as merely a dark bruise. Suddenly, a beam of light emerged from the mark, similar to those that appeared with the monsters. Indeed, the creature emerged from the black hole, shouting at Joey to return its body. Terrified, Joey demanded to know who it was, but the creature insulted him, calling him foolish for not recognizing it. It proudly declared itself the king of the beings humans referred to as extraterrestrial life forms, the strongest among them. Joey, recalling the dragon's form, pointed out the stark difference between it and the creature before him. The creature retorted by drawing attention to its horns and glowing lines, asserting they matched its former form perfectly. Upon closer inspection, Joey reluctantly admitted those were the only similarities. This infuriated the creature, which insisted on its identity. The creature attempted to reveal its name, claiming only a select few in the universe knew it, but it struggled to recall. Joey, noticing its pitiful state, mocked its claim of being the strongest, accusing it of trying to manipulate him. He then asked if it understood that one of the students had died because of it, vowing to avenge the wrongs it had committed. The creature scoffed at Joey, calling him ignorant and reminding him it had already consumed him. It stated that Joey's current body was made from its own. It explained that after being devoured, its body was entirely consumed, leaving it in its current degraded state, and that Joey now bore its scent. Shocked by this revelation, Joey struggled to process the implications, but the creature insisted it had been explaining this all along. Suddenly, Joey sensed someone approaching his room and urgently instructed the creature to hide. The visitor turned out to be Oren. Oren expressed her immense relief and joy at seeing Joey awake, thanking the heavens for his survival. When he saw her, Joey recognized her from the Hachi school. She reintroduced herself, this time using her full name. Joey laughed and told Oren he would call her Oren, introducing himself simply as Joey. Oren looked surprised and reminded him that he should address her by her title, given her higher rank. She then pointed out that he had disobeyed her order at the shelter, and warned him that such defiance would not be tolerated again, emphasizing that their primary role was to protect civilians. Joey replied with a question, asking how he could be a traitor simply for not following orders, explaining that he had done everything he was capable of. At that moment, Oren used her abilities, causing the room's temperature to plummet dramatically, leaving Joey shivering from the intense cold. She began interrogating him, demanding to know the truth about how he survived the monster and why it had vanished a week ago. Oren continued, stating that the most important thing Joey could do for humanity now was to answer her questions. The cold became unbearable for Joey, and he begged her to stop using her powers, asking if he had really been there for an entire week. Oren confirmed that a week had indeed passed, and explained that he was now in the 8th Force Hospital. She turned on the television to show him how the world had changed. A news report played, explaining that the most powerful being had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The reporter added that investigations were ongoing, and that the attack had caused communication interference, leaving no recordings of the event. According to the sole witness, a lone boy was at the scene during the incident. The reporter concluded by stating that this was all the available information, with no further details. After watching the report, Joey sat in confusion, wondering if they were talking about him. Oren confirmed that he was the boy in question, and demanded that he tell her what had happened at the shelter that day. She emphasized that the most powerful being possessed the strength to destroy humanity, and stressed the urgency of finding and neutralizing it. She clarified that she was speaking in her official capacity as an S-rank member of the 8th Force, and that her duty depended on his testimony. The dragon interrupted him abruptly, chastising him for being so quick to reveal the truth, and questioning if he planned to share everything so easily. Annoyed, Joey told the dragon to stop bothering him. Oren noticed Joey holding his head and looking distressed, so she asked if he was all right. Joey explained that he just felt a bit tired and had a headache. The dragon persisted, urging Joey to admit that he had consumed the most powerful being and that his body was now made of the dragon's essence. It warned Joey that humans would kill him if they found out. Joey considered the dragon's words and conceded that it might have a point. Joey pointed to Oren and declared that he had consumed the most powerful being using his alpha ability, showing his hands as proof. The dragon mocked him, warning that such an admission would lead to his death. Oren looked at Joey with a strange expression and told him she didn't see anything he was claiming, asking what exactly he was trying to do. Joey realized that no one else could see the dragon or the black mark on his hand, nor was he sure if others could hear the dragon's voice. Oren demanded that Joey stop messing around and answer her questions seriously, warning that she would use her powers against him if necessary. Just then, a new monster appeared above the hospital. The dragon connected to Joey was the only one who sensed its presence and seemed to have anticipated its arrival. At that moment, Oren was still pressing Joey for answers, emphasizing that what he said could affect the fate of humanity. She insisted he could not avoid his responsibility. The dragon interjected, urging Joey to leave the place immediately. When Joey questioned why everyone was so insistent, the dragon promised to explain later. There was no time to act, as the flying monster had already arrived, shattering the hospital's glass. Joey asked what kind of creature it was, but the dragon ignored his question, admitting that it hadn't managed to warn him in time. Oren quickly utilized her ice wall ability, forming a protective barrier to shield them from the monster. She explained to Joey that this creature was one of the extraterrestrial life forms. Joey then asked why it had come to this location. The dragon replied that they needed to escape immediately, stating that the creature was more powerful than an S rank, and had come because it could smell the dragon's scent. Joey, puzzled, asked what the dragon meant by scent. The dragon explained that most EVA creatures on Earth had previously encountered it before arriving on the planet. The flying monster had picked up the dragon's scent, deduced its current weakened state, and decided to come and devour it. The dragon clarified that the monster specifically wanted to consume the dragon's body, which was now Joey's body. The flying monster managed to penetrate the protective barrier Oren had created, even though this barrier had previously proven effective against S-rank monsters. Joey pushed Oren out of the monster's path, urging her to escape, explaining that the creature was targeting him. Oren refused, stating she didn't fully understand the situation, but warned Joey not to underestimate her. She reminded him that she was an S-rank and had a responsibility to protect civilians. Using her alpha ability, Oren formed ice crystals and directed them toward the flying monster. However, to her surprise, the crystals melted as soon as they touched the monster. This was something she couldn't comprehend, given her previous success using the ability against S-rank EVA creatures. By then, the flying monster had approached them entirely, and all the crystals Oren had launched had disappeared. The monster spread its wings and unleashed a fireball from its mouth that nearly obliterated them. Oren told Joey to take cover behind her while she tried to resist the creature on her own. The dragon intervened again, telling Joey that this was his chance to escape since the monster would focus on Oren. Ignoring the dragon's advice, Joey charged at the monster's leg with his body, prompting the dragon to scold him, calling him an idiot. Oren shouted at Joey, warning him that he had no alpha abilities and should run immediately. Joey, as usual, replied that he was simply doing what he could, adding that if the monster had come for him, it was his opponent to face. He stood his ground and observed the flying monster, analyzing its movements and planning his strategy. He noticed a large tree nearby and decided to jump onto it, then descend to a less crowded area. The dragon, furious, shouted at Joey, warning him that any mistake could injure his body, which was now the dragon's own body. Joey retorted that he didn't care and had no other choice, leaving the dragon deeply frustrated. Joey leapt from the building toward the tree, only to realize that his jump was much higher than he had anticipated. To his astonishment, he found himself flying through the air, experiencing an indescribable sensation. However, he quickly realized he didn't know how to land. Soon, he began plummeting from the great height, screaming in fear as he braced for what seemed to be an inevitable crash. The dragon shouted at Joey to stop screaming and focus on figuring out how to land safely. Joey did as instructed and finally reached the ground, eyes squeezed shut in fear, leaving a deep crater similar to those caused by monsters when they fall. When he opened his eyes, he couldn't believe he had survived the fall unscathed. Looking up at the height from which he had fallen, he wondered how he wasn't hurt, despite the distance. The dragon explained that it had lent him its strength momentarily. Suddenly, the flying monster reappeared behind them, ready to attack again. Joey started running, with the dragon urging him that it was time to strike a deal. The dragon proposed that Joey grant it control of his body, assuring him that if he agreed, the monster could be defeated with ease. It warned Joey that refusing the deal would result in the deaths of everyone in the area and the destruction of the surrounding buildings, emphasizing the creature's destructive capability. Speaking in a somber tone, the dragon insisted Joey make a decision immediately, save everyone, or allow the monster to kill them all. Joey asked what giving up his body meant, and the dragon, irritated, clarified that it meant letting it use Joey's body, reminding him that the body had originally belonged to the dragon. The dragon also pointed out that without the strength it had provided during the jump, Joey would have already died. At that moment, the flying monster closed in on them, forcing them to start running again. The dragon pressed Joey to grant it control immediately, asking if he wanted to die. Joey recalled the moment the dragon had consumed him, and the destruction and death caused by the most powerful creature. Finally, he declared that he would never allow the dragon to take control of his body, reminding it of the harm it had caused him and his friends at the school. Suddenly, the flying monster launched a fireball toward them, but Joey managed to dodge it just in time, commenting on how close it had been. Falling to the ground, Joey looked at the monster, calling it merciless, but the dragon explained that the creature knew Joey's body was that of the dragon, and fire alone wouldn't be enough to kill him. At that moment, Joey spotted a woman in a wheelchair screaming in fear. Shocked, he realized that the hospital hadn't been fully evacuated, and that she was in danger. He shouted at the flying monster to divert its attention toward him. The dragon protested, demanding Joey let it take control to end the fight. Joey remembered that his body was made from that of the most powerful creature, granting him immense strength similar to the dragon's. He charged at the monster to attack it himself, but his strike left no impact. The monster continued toward the woman, unaffected by Joey's efforts. Joey was baffled as to why his ability wasn't working. The dragon explained that Joey needed its consent to access its power. Without it, he was just an ordinary human. Frustrated, the dragon made a final plea, urging Joey to let it take control and end the battle before everyone in the hospital was killed. Joey grabbed the dragon's face angrily, mocking it for its endless chatter that was giving him a headache. He accused the dragon of being the reason the monster was there in the first place. Joey continued, asserting that he would never allow the dragon to use his body, but that he would use the dragon's power himself. At that moment, the flying monster launched a second fireball toward them, and the dragon screamed, warning Joey that his actions would get them both killed. Joey smiled as usual, and said he was just doing what he could, and that if the dragon wouldn't lend him its strength, they would both die together. He added that if they managed to destroy the flying monster, humanity's greatest threat, even at the cost of their lives, it wouldn't be a bad sacrifice. The dragon scoffed, calling Joey a foolish boy, and then told him to extend his right hand. The dragon re-entered the black hole within Joey, and glowing lines began to appear on his body. Joey felt an immense surge of power, filling him with confidence that he could face the monster. As his strength increased gradually, Joey decided to deliver a vertical strike upward to avoid harming anyone or damaging the hospital building. The destructive power of the dragon clashed with the flying monster's immense strength, leading to a prolonged stalemate. Joey began to doubt whether their combined power was enough, asking the dragon if it wanted to die with him in this battle. The dragon, enraged, told him to shut up and stop underestimating its power. The dragon's energy surged even further, eventually overwhelming the flying monster's strength. The attack sliced the monster in half, killing it instantly. The woman in the wheelchair watched the scene unfold, overjoyed that the threat had been eliminated. Joey was equally elated, realizing he had managed to defeat one of the deadliest monsters with a single blow, understanding now that the power of the strongest type far exceeded all expectations. As the battle ended, Joey, exhausted from using the dragon's power, collapsed unconscious on the ground. Orin arrived at the scene, running toward Joey. When she saw him lying on the ground beside the flying monster's corpse, she was stunned. Looking at the monster's remains, she muttered that it was impossible for Joey to have done this. Kneeling beside him, she wondered how a boy with no alpha abilities could have accomplished such a feat, pondering his secret. The scene transitioned to a strange place, where Joey appeared seated on a chair, unconscious. Slowly, he woke up, noticing a pleasant aroma in the air. In front of him stood a man in formal attire, pouring him a cup of tea. The man greeted him warmly, expressing his delight that Joey had regained consciousness, and asked if he'd like to start their conversation with some tea. He handed Joey the cup, but Joey asked who he was and what was going on. The man apologized for the delay in explaining, stating that Joey's condition had been critical after his encounter with the monster, and they had taken care of him. He explained that this place was an underground training center affiliated with Hachi School, doubling as a shelter for VIPs during EVA attacks, equipped with humanity's strongest defenses. The man introduced himself as Nishiki, an S rank and the commander of the 8th Special Forces, as well as the head of the training school. Upon hearing his name, Joey recognized him immediately, saying he had heard much about him. Joey added that he knew Nishiki had defeated the strongest type during its attack on Tokyo 8 years ago, describing him as the country's strongest soldier in the Special Forces. Nishiki smiled and joked that he was also Joey's boss as a janitor at Hachi School, asking Joey to treat him formally. The dragon, overhearing the conversation, grew anxious about Nishiki's presence, thinking it was best to remain hidden since it stood no chance against him in its current state. Joey asked why they were in this underground facility. Later, Joey noticed Orin and was delighted to see her, telling her he was happy she was safe. She replied that she was also glad to see he was okay. He then spotted the woman from the wheelchair in the hospital and asked if she had been the one the monster was about to attack. The woman introduced herself as Youngjae, revealing that she was an A rank, and thanked Joey for saving her during the attack. Joey looked at Youngjae and noticed she was wearing the Hachi School uniform. He found it odd that she was also in the hospital and asked her if she was a student there. Then, he turned to everyone and asked why they were all gathered together and why they were in his company, despite all of them being high-ranking individuals while he was so different. Nishiki responded with a smile, saying it was time to get to the main point after explaining the situation. He gestured toward a plate of cookies on the table and urged Joey to try one, proudly stating that he had baked them himself. Joey stared at the cookies, surprised by their delicate design, which seemed out of place for someone as tough as Nishiki. Still, he took one and found it incredibly delicious. Afterward, Nishiki shifted to a serious tone, informing Joey that he had consumed the strongest type and could now wield its element. Joey was so shocked he nearly choked on his tea, spitting it out and demanding to know how Nishiki was aware of this. He glanced at Orin, assuming she had told them, but Nishiki denied it, explaining that they had been observing him themselves. Joey fell silent, unable to respond. Nishiki continued, explaining that the element was the mysterious substance brought by the monsters from space, serving as the source of their energy. He elaborated that the element was also the fundamental origin of alpha abilities, and that human technology had failed to fully comprehend or measure it. However, high-ranking individuals could sense its presence. The conversation shifted to Youngjae, with Nishiki revealing that her alpha ability was rare and unique, as it allowed her to see and analyze the element. This was why she had been assigned to monitor Joey. Joey realized from Nishiki's words that saving Youngjae in the hospital hadn't been a coincidence, and that Nishiki had been testing him. Nishiki sipped his tea as he talked about the strongest monster that had appeared in Tokyo 8 years ago, causing massive destruction and posing a threat akin to nuclear warfare. He added that they had mistakenly believed the last monster to appear was the ultimate threat. Suddenly, Nishiki appeared behind Joey with a sword at his neck, explaining that the strongest types posed a grave danger and had to be eliminated immediately if there was any chance of risk. Joey froze in terror, wondering how Nishiki had moved from his seat to behind him so quickly. Nishiki continued, expressing his regret for not being present to protect the students during the previous strongest type attack, vowing not to make the same mistake again. He seemed ready to end Joey's life with his blade, increasing Joey's fear. Orin intervened, stopping Nishiki. She argued that if a new strongest type with nuclear-level power had emerged, it was likely there could be a third type as well. She added that having someone like Joey, who carried the strength of one of the strongest types and could act as an ally to humanity, would be their best hope. Reluctantly, Nishiki withdrew the sword from Joey's neck, agreeing with Orin that fighting fire with fire might be their best option. However, he pointed out that tasking a 15-year-old boy with such a responsibility was far from normal. Nishiki asked Youngjae to evaluate Joey herself. Youngjae approached him with a peculiar smile and requested permission to touch his hand, the one containing the black hole inhabited by the dragon. When she held his hand, Joey winced in pain and demanded to know what she was doing. She responded by saying she had found the miniature strongest type. The dragon appeared within Joey's hand, and everyone noticed that its element level was now 0, in stark contrast to the previous day. Youngjae described the dragon as very cute. The dragon grew uneasy about Youngjae, finding her strange and suspicious, but unable to pinpoint why. Youngjae began untying the band covering her eyes, stating that she needed a clearer view to better understand the situation. When the covering was removed, her eyes appeared completely normal. Looking intently at Joey, she remarked that a human being was a complete universe. Her eyes lit up as she moved closer to him, stating that she would now examine the kind of universe he carried within himself. After Youngjae activated her celestial observation ability, she mentally entered Joey's inner space, finding herself floating in an expansive void. She marveled at the sight, noting that the black void extended throughout Joey's body, and that the sparkling stars around her represented the elements within him. Youngjae reflected on how everyone had claimed Joey lacked any alpha abilities, but realized he did possess elements, though far fewer than usual. She soon noticed an unusual movement of the elements, realizing they weren't moving randomly, but were all being drawn toward a single point resembling a black hole. At that moment, Youngjae understood that Joey's unique alpha ability was a black hole inside his body. As she lingered near the black hole, she felt herself being pulled toward it by an intense gravitational force she couldn't resist. Youngjae struggled to escape, but the pull was like a powerful vortex, dragging her relentlessly until she reached the black hole. As she crossed through it, she found herself on the other side, unsure if she had truly exited or remained trapped. She quickly realized the black hole's gravity was inescapable, and if it could draw her in, no living being could resist it. Stunned, Youngjae muttered that Joey's ability surpassed anything humanly imaginable and resolved to uncover the full truth. She decided to delve deeper into this space and eventually reached a massive black orb. Approaching it, she discovered the dragon of the strongest type within it. As she got closer, the dragon suddenly attacked her with ferocity, seemingly ready to devour her. Youngjae tried to flee but failed, forcing her to deactivate her celestial observation ability urgently. She snapped back to consciousness at the last moment, visibly shaken and unable to believe she was still alive. Oren noticed her terrified expression and asked if she was okay and why she had screamed. Joey, who had no idea what had happened, asked if they were done now or not. Nishiki tried to calm Youngjae and offered her tea, but Oren suggested water instead. After drinking the water, Youngjae began to relax slightly, though fear remained etched on her face. Nishiki asked for her report following her celestial observation. Youngjae reported seeing a massive black hole inside Joey, identifying it as his alpha ability. She explained that the elements in his body were being drawn into the black hole, which was why they appeared absent, leading to his misclassification as someone without elements. She added that she herself had been pulled inside and confirmed Joey's claim about consuming the strongest type. When Nishiki asked about the dragon's condition inside Joey, Youngjae revealed that it had attacked her. Upon hearing this, Nishiki immediately drew his sword and placed it at Joey's neck again. Oren quickly intervened, asking Nishiki what he was doing. He responded by stating that what Youngjae had seen posed a severe threat. He explained that the dragon attacking Youngjae indicated it might break free from Joey's alpha ability, potentially escaping and attacking humanity again. At that moment, the dragon told Joey that Nishiki intended to kill them both and offered to lend him its power to eliminate Nishiki. Using her ability, Youngjae overheard what the dragon was saying to Joey. She lied to Nishiki, claiming the dragon planned to kill all of them. Youngjae added that the small dragon was the spirit of the strongest type. She explained that when Joey consumed the strongest type, its spirit separated from its body. The body had been imprisoned, but the spirit remained with Joey, albeit with limited abilities. Nishiki responded that even if the spirit was neutral and limited, it could tempt Joey into using its powers, increasing the danger. He stated that having Joey with the spirit and the imprisoned dragon within him posed a threat equivalent to nuclear warfare, making their continued existence unacceptable. Before Nishiki could strike Joey with the sword, Joey grabbed it firmly with his hand and said with determination that he had lived his entire life without any abilities and fully understood what needed to be done. He vowed not to let something like this tempt him with its power. Nishiki, unconvinced, violently pulled the sword from Joey's grip and delivered a direct blow, stating that there were no guarantees for his words. The strike inflicted a severe wound on Joey, causing him intense pain while the dragon inside him screamed angrily, reminding everyone that Joey's body was its body. Suddenly, intense beams of light burst from Joey's body in response to the sword's strike. Youngjae pointed out that what was emanating from Joey was alpha energy at an S-rank level, or elements of an exceptionally high tier, making Nishiki realize that Joey embodied the strongest dragon. Nishiki raised his sword toward Joey again, determined to end it. At that moment, light began radiating from every part of Joey's body, including his eyes and mouth, growing increasingly brighter. Oren tried to protect Youngjae by pushing her away in the wheelchair, but Youngjae screamed that the rate at which elements were pouring out of Joey might result in the strongest dragon being released. Nishiki reassured them, claiming the situation was under his control and that he wouldn't let it happen. Nishiki attacked Joey again with a powerful blow, attempting to resolve the situation before it was too late. However, the result was an explosion of brilliant light. Youngjae described the strike as incredible, enhanced by star elements, but expressed concern that Joey might, and trailed off. Nishiki was stunned when his signature attack didn't yield the expected outcome. Joey emerged standing, still under the influence of the elemental outburst from his body, while the dragon began materializing outside him, regaining its form and control. Nishiki was astonished by the volume of elements pouring from Joey's body, even more so when he realized he could see them despite not having an alpha ability to do so. Deciding to unleash his full power, Nishiki launched a flurry of powerful strikes from all directions at Joey. Yet, the attacks had no effect, as Joey protected himself with a vast field of elements surrounding him. Oren, observing the scene, was awestruck by Joey's resilience despite everything Nishiki had done. She considered intervening to help Nishiki, but recalled Joey saving her, and decided she couldn't attack or harm him. Meanwhile, the small dragon within the black hole appeared gleeful, mocking humanity, and claiming that there was no way this was their full strength, suggesting something was wrong. Nishiki smiled, resolved to use his ultimate abilities. He charged at Joey at incredible speed, his sword engulfed in a massive vortex of energy. The vortex grew in strength, exciting the dragon, who remarked that things were finally getting interesting. Young-jae pointed out that star elements were converging around Nishiki's sword, expressing concern that this boded ill. As the vortex grew even more powerful, Oren grew anxious for Joey and called out to him, recalling his words about resisting the temptation of the strongest dragon. She urged him to wake up. At that moment, the dragon appeared in its predatory form and charged toward Nishiki, mocking him by calling him a tea drinker, further infuriating Nishiki. The dragon reached Nishiki and attacked, but Nishiki countered using the elemental vortex he had created, managing to repel the dragon's assault. The dragon's power exceeded Nishiki's expectations, and as a result, Nishiki's sword shattered under the dragon's attack. Nishiki stood in shock as the dragon loomed over him, ready to finish him off. The dragon remarked with amusement that it had enjoyed playing with him. Just as the dragon prepared to devour Nishiki, Oren and Young-jae screamed in fear, while Nishiki closed his eyes, convinced his end had come. Moments later, Nishiki opened his eyes to discover he was unharmed. The dragon began questioning why everything had suddenly gone dark, only to realize that Joey had taken control and pulled it away from Nishiki. Nishiki stood before Joey, trying to comprehend what had happened, and asked whether Joey or the dragon was truly in control. Joey laughed and reminded him that he had already said he wouldn't let something like the dragon control him. He explained that Nishiki's earlier attack had caused him to momentarily lose control of his body, but he had regained it. The dragon tried to move toward Nishiki again, but Joey didn't let it. He pulled the dragon toward him. Holding the dragon firmly in his hands, Joey warned it about going too far and asked if it intended to rebel again. At that moment, the dragon saw Joey's eyes, which appeared like dark pits resembling black holes. The dragon realized this vision might have been caused by its shock at being consumed by Joey. Quickly, the dragon told Joey it understood the message and would return to its place. Joey warned it not to repeat its horrific actions, and the dragon retreated into the black hole within Joey's hand. Joey reflected on what others had said about his alpha ability, the black hole inside him, but he still didn't know how to control it. He felt relieved the dragon had returned on its own, as he didn't know how he would have forced it back. Young-jae observed what had happened and remarked that the star elements were now at 0, making Joey surpass all known ranks. Nishiki stood silently before suddenly bursting into loud laughter, telling Joey he was utterly remarkable. Nishiki added that Joey had gone from being critically unconscious to releasing the strongest dragon, yet he had harmed no one and managed to return the dragon to his body. He told Joey he had passed the test they had set for him and declared him a student at Hachi School under Nishiki's authority as its leader. Joey, confused, asked what that meant and how he had become a student at the school. Nishiki explained that they had been testing him to see if he could control the dragon, preparing for the possibility of similar creatures threatening humanity in the future. He emphasized that power equivalent to such creatures needed to be under control, which was why the test was necessary. Nishiki told Joey they had first tested him through Young-jae and then through the current ordeal, and now he was officially informing him of his enrollment in the school. He asked Joey if he wanted to be tested again. Joey extended his hand and said he would do his best, pledging to become a student at the school and defend everyone. Hearing Joey's words, Oren and Young-jae were delighted. Joey declared that even if he had no abilities, he would help in other ways, and if he did have abilities, he would use them to their fullest potential. Nishiki praised Joey, calling it an admirable resolve, and as the school's leader, officially welcomed him as a student. Nishiki approached Joey and asked to see his wounds so he could heal them using his alpha ability, apologizing for hurting him earlier. However, when Joey revealed the wound, they discovered it had healed on its own. Joey remarked that it seemed he didn't need treatment after all. This realization made Nishiki uneasy again, as he thought about how Joey's body, made from the dragons, could pose a real danger. Later, Nishiki called Oren and informed her that Joey would be in the same class as her, instructing her to take care of him in every way. Oren replied that she understood and would do her best. Nishiki then turned to Young-jae and told her that she too would be transferred to the same class to closely monitor Joey. Young-jae was delighted at the idea of being near the strongest dragon all the time, and told Joey she would never take her eyes off him. The dragon, still within Joey's hand, felt uneasy about her presence, and described her as strange and highly unsettling. Nishiki commented that things were about to get even more interesting, pulling out his special tea and asking Oren if she'd like some, noting that he had new cups. Oren politely declined, pointing out that Nishiki had brought his personal thermos, so he decided to enjoy the tea alone. Nishiki then turned back to Oren and informed her that if the strongest dragon inside Joey ever went berserk, she would need to use her alpha ability to eliminate both the dragon and Joey. Oren was shocked and demanded an explanation. Nishiki clarified that while he would handle the situation himself if he were present, his frequent preoccupation with fighting Eva creatures meant that Oren would bear the responsibility. Seeing Oren's apprehension about confronting such a threat alone, Nishiki reminded her that her ice barrier had been shattered by the flying monster at the hospital. However, he reassured her that her ability, Stellar Ice Aura, would grant her the strength needed to contain Joey before the Supreme Dragon could break free. Noticing Oren's hesitation to harm Joey, Nishiki emphasized that she had already shown she could use the ability if she had wanted to. He further stated that she had no right to refuse, as it was her duty as an S-rank warrior, and one of only 10 individuals tasked with protecting the nation. Oren looked at Joey, recalling how he had carried her on his back to protect her from the strongest dragon, and felt conflicted about the possibility of hurting him. In the end, she said she understood her duty, and that if the dragon went berserk, she would deal with it before it could harm anyone, even if it meant eliminating Joey. Oren added that it was her responsibility as an S-rank warrior, and the only way to repay Joey for saving her life. Nishiki was reassured by her response. He then used star elements to ignite his hand, and called Joey over, asking if he could feel the heat. Joey replied that he felt nothing, leading Nishiki to realize that Joey knew nothing about star elements. Nishiki announced that they had a critical mission, to teach Joey everything about star elements before he officially joined the school. He explained that while Joey could contain the dragon within himself, his lack of knowledge about elements and how to use them posed a significant challenge. Teaching him was essential for humanity's survival. The next day, Joey arrived at the training location Oren had described. Looking around, he noted that he had arrived exactly where she had directed him, but was puzzled because the place resembled a hot spring. He decided to open the map to confirm he was in the right spot, but suddenly, he heard a voice welcoming him. Turning around, he was even more surprised to see Oren and Youngjae greeting him. They apologized for being late, and appeared to have just emerged from a hot bath, with Youngjae standing on her own 2 feet. Joey asked them if they were finished with their bath, and inquired about the special training they had mentioned. Oren told Joey that this was part of the training and advised him not to act as if they were just playing around and wasting time. Joey looked at them and joked that they both looked radiant, with steam from the hot water still lingering around them. Then he turned to Youngjae, who was now standing on her own, and asked if her leg had healed. Youngjae laughed and reassured him that she was fine, explaining that Nishiki had healed her leg using his abilities, and that the injury had only been a fracture, which made it heal quickly. Joey expressed admiration for alpha abilities, saying they were incredible, and hoped to master his own powers like them someday. Youngjae approached him, took his hand with the dragon inside, and said it was essential for him to understand everything about his alpha ability. When she neared the dragon, it grew uneasy, and referred to her as the suspicious blindfolded girl, before retreating into the black hole inside Joey. Youngjae, amused by the dragon's reaction, commented on its retreat, but showed even greater interest in the black hole itself. She asked Joey to hold still while she tested something. She held his hand again and surprised him by inserting her fingers into the black hole. Joey yelped, telling her to stop because it tickled. Youngjae, clearly enjoying herself, called out to Oren to try it too. Joey protested vehemently, telling them not to treat his body like a toy. Oren enthusiastically joined in to try it, making Joey yell in frustration, asking what they thought they were doing to his body. As Youngjae's fingers reached the dragon, it suddenly bit her, warning her not to approach its home again. Youngjae calmed the dragon, laughing as she referred to it as Mr. Dragon, commenting that it seemed upset, which confirmed her suspicions. She asked Joey if he had felt anything when she placed her fingers inside the black hole. He replied that he only felt a tickling sensation. Youngjae responded seriously, saying she understood, but this was a very bad sign. She explained that if this continued, Joey would never be able to use his abilities. Joey was surprised by her statement, and asked what she meant by him being unable to use his abilities. Meanwhile, the dragon seemed pleased and considered it a positive development. Youngjae explained that when she inserted her fingers, she had been releasing star elements, but Joey hadn't felt them, indicating a significant problem, something Nishiki had also mentioned the day before. Joey asked them to explain what star elements were and how they differed from alpha abilities. Oren stepped in, explaining that star elements were the energy needed to use alpha abilities, comparing them to fuel. She added that star elements were a cosmic material brought to Earth by the Eva creatures when they arrived. She clarified that the elements had spread everywhere and were abundant inside living organisms as well. Continuing their walk, Oren explained that humans absorbed star elements through breathing and eating, releasing them as tiny rays of energy from their bodies continuously. As they walked together, Youngjae pointed out that Joey's problem was his inability to sense star elements, which was why he couldn't use his abilities. He couldn't recognize their fuel. Joey felt like he was in real trouble, but the dragon seemed as cheerful as ever, delighted that Joey couldn't use his abilities. However, Joey laughed to reassure himself, saying that with Oren and Youngjae by his side, they would train him well. The two girls laughed and led Joey to the hot spring area, announcing that training would start now. Youngjae filled a bowl with hot water from the spring and brought it to Oren, asking her to take the next step. Oren used her abilities on the water, causing star elements to radiate visibly around her. Youngjae explained that their focus was now entirely on intent, while Joey, still confused, asked what they were doing. Oren clarified that she had dissolved highly concentrated star elements into the water, adding that drinking it would help Joey sense the elements later. Youngjae handed the bowl to Joey with a laugh, saying he was about to drink hot spring water enriched with Oren's special star elements, though Oren told her to stop joking. Youngjae became more serious and explained to Joey that the water was infused with dissolved elements, concentrated to make it easier for him to sense them. Joey took the ladle of water from Youngjae and thanked them, saying he now understood the concept, and that drinking the enriched water would help him. But as soon as he drank it, he dropped the ladle and clutched his throat in pain, exclaiming that it burned terribly. Youngjae smiled and casually mentioned that she had forgotten to warn him that star element enriched water could be toxic to some people and needed to be handled carefully. Joey yelled at her, scolding her for omitting such a crucial detail before letting him drink. Youngjae reminded him that he would be attending Hachi school tomorrow, and told him he needed to adapt to small challenges like this or he wouldn't survive. She added that every student at the school had gone through similar experiences. Despite the pain, Joey smiled and said he was happy to be joining Hachi school and looked forward to using his abilities to help everyone. Oren and Youngjae were thrilled by his determination and encouraged him, saying this was the right attitude. Suddenly, A strong surge of energy radiated from Joey's body, causing him to feel strange sensations and intense pain. Completely unaware of what was happening, he expressed his surprise at the sensation of power coursing through his veins. He looked at the energy surrounding his body and hands, wondering if this was the star elements they had been talking about.